Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I have a very interesting and chilling subscriber interview. Former Marine, saw combat in the Middle East, also had PTSD from it, then had a Dogman experience and had PTSD from that. He's also going to share with us some Dogman sightings from around a certain camp where other Marines had seen these creatures. Before we get into that, though, a couple links. I'd also like to dedicate today's upload to my uncle. He passed away a couple days ago, and he is a Vietnam vet. He was with the 5th Infantry Division, one of the probably nicest and compassionate men that I've ever met in my life. And to know the atrocities he faced over there and still had such an amazing demeanor and outlook on life really showed me a lot. My dad, of course, was a Vietnam vet, but he has his own issues as much as I love him. But Uncle Mark, this upload is for you. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost you a cent. Click that like button. It takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all these things, they really do help this channel to continue to grow and go. And they definitely do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump into today's upload, shall we? All right, everybody. Tonight I have a guest and subscriber whose name is George. He served in the Marines, and he has a couple of encounters that he would like to share with us tonight. George, how are you tonight?
I'm good, Jeff. How are you?
I'm very good. I want to thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for your service to this great country we live in. The floor is yours, my friend. Share away.
All right, man. Thank you, and thanks for that. That means a lot to us vets, man. I guess to me it all goes back to 1994. I was a young kid, 20 years old. 19 actually. I was fresh out of boot camp in the Marine Corps, and then I was shipped out to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, a little base called Courthouse Bay for combat engineering school. So, being from California, like the Central Coast in the Pacific, it was a big shock to be in North Carolina where it's just trees everywhere. So Courthouse Bay, it's like I said, it was just mostly all trees, very dense. It seems like they just clear an area and they build stuff on it, and it's just surrounded by trees. So I was probably about a month into school, and it was my time to pull duty. So there's probably about 4 or 5 posts that had to be patrolled and I got 2 days of patrolling a big parking lot for all the heavy equipment. So Courthouse Bay, it's for combat engineering school, but they also have heavy equipment operators that train there. So there was a big parking lot with cranes, Humvees, 5 tons, and all that stuff. So that was what I got 2 days of duty, and it was pretty easy. It was only from 9 to 11, so it wasn't bad. So what ended up happening is my first night being there, and being young, being dumb, I decided to take one of these Humvees for a test drive, you know. So I got caught driving one of these Humvees trying to pick up one of my other buddies at the barracks. So my punishment was either get written up, get like an official write-up, or do a whole week of duty, which I ended up taking. So I got a full week of duty from 2 o'clock in the morning till 4. So those were like rough hours. So that was my punishment. So the way that the parking lot was, like I said, everything's surrounded by woods, and there was a fence that surrounded it. So the lighting, there was a big old. I remember there was a big old light, like a floodlight, in the middle of the parking lot that pretty much lit the whole area. So after about, I remember the second night of being there, I start seeing shadows in the woods. You know, as I was patrolling, I would see shadows. So one of the things that was very common surrounding Courthouse Bay was all these little trails for training. So there was machine gun pits that were dug up, and there were all these perimeters that were laid out for training. So I chalked it up as, you know, some Marines doing some late night training, because you would see these shadows kind of just, you know, 50 yards into the wood. You know, as far as I can see, there's this dark shadows that are moving about. And then I start seeing red lights, you know, which you know is very common for nighttime training. You know, they give us these flashlights with these little red lens. They put in a flashlight, and that's how you do a nighttime, you know, navigation and maneuvering. So that's what I thought. I thought it was just Marines training with flashlights. So probably about the third night, you know, after seeing that stuff, and it wasn't all the time, it was just, you know, here and there. But the third night into duty, and I was really tired by then. You know, I was doing school from like 7 or whatever till 5 or 6, and then 2 o'clock in the morning at 4 doing duty. So I started getting tired. So I started telling myself it's probably just me being tired that I was seeing these shadows. But now I was seeing this stuff inside the parking lot. And I remember it started freaking me out. I remember walking to like the center of that big floodlight on the parking lot, and I would just stand there because that's where I felt the safest. And I would watch dark figures, you know, jump on like 5 tons or cranes or bulldozers, and kind of circle the whole lot. So it kind of started freaking me out. So that night during my patrol, I found a van, a white van that was parked up against the fence, and it wasn't locked. So I'm thinking, you know, I got about another hour left of duty. I'm just going to jump in this van and catch some Z's. So I jumped in the van, and I dozed off pretty quick. And I remember waking up to the radio. There was like something happening on the radio, like a crack, you know, I kept hearing some crosstalk going on. It woke me up. So I started getting up and put my belt back on, and all I had was a baton stick and a flashlight. That's all I had in my radio. And so I started getting myself together, and all of a sudden I start hearing stuff in the woods, you know, like some footsteps, and some branches that were breaking. So I remember opening up the truck, the back of the truck, and right in front of me were like 5 or 6 deer. They just showed up out of nowhere. They're right there up against the fence. And looking at them, it seemed like they were trying to push themselves right through the fence because they were scared of something. And then I looked in the woods and I saw the red lights, but this time the red lights were like 20, 30 feet up in the air. And these were like pair of lights. No longer it was like one single flashlight. It was just I would see these eye shines, red. So I still, denial. I still told myself, oh yeah, these are Marines that are training. They're up there climbing trees, I guess. But then this feeling overtook me, like really, like fear. Like my ears kind of went through this phase where like I can hear like this like sound. It's like a frequency that just started like kind of tick tock. It was weird. So I started getting scared, and then all of a sudden the radio comes up, and it was one of my it was the sergeant of the guard who called me to tell me that I was getting pulled from duty to be ready. And by this time I'd already jumped back in the truck after, being freaked out. And sure, as soon as he said he was going to be there in like 5 minutes, I waited in that van until I saw him pull up, in the truck. And this whole time I'm hearing behind me, I'm just at a fence, I'm hearing movement. And then out of nowhere, the deer scattered. They ran like on all directions. They took off. And then I started hearing growling. So I took off. I got off the van and just took off and ran to the floodlight and waited for the sergeant of the guard to pick me up. And on the way back to the barracks, we went and picked up two other Marines that were doing guard too, but one of them was really freaked out, and he was the only one that had an M16 with live rounds because he was actually patrolling the demo and the ammo building. So what ended up happening was I guess he had an incident where he encountered something and he shot a couple of rounds. So that's what the whole fuss was about during the radio. And I guess it's a big thing to shoot any kind of ammo on base without permission. So that was the end of my duty. They stopped duty for the rest of that week, and I guess there's an investigation, and that was the end of that. I heard nothing else about it. So I go ahead and move on, finished school, and I went about my business, the Marine fleet thing. Then a couple of years later, to a corporal, I went back there to Courthouse Bay to do journeyman school, a little bit advanced of what the basic combat engineering school was. So I go back there, and part of the schooling was to learn how to make these strong backs. That's what they call them. So you know what a military tent, like a big military tent, looks like, right?
Yeah.
Something that would sleep a whole platoon, like 40 Marines. Well, the strong back is pretty much the skeleton, the inside. It's the framing and the flooring. Sorry, that's my dog. So that's what we're doing. We're doing a strong back training, building these strong backs. And one of those days during the week, there had to be a couple of us that had to stay back and clean up the shop, throw the tools and stuff like that. So there was 4 of us that volunteered for like 2 or 3 days to clean up. And so during that time, we played some spades and had a couple of beers. And the table was right there in the middle of the strong back with a little window next to us. And there was a fence that was right on the other side, maybe like 5 feet away from the strong back. And animals would pass right through there. I remember a deer passed one time, and then there was a coyote that passed. And then there was one of the Marines, I forgot his name, but anyways, he had the habit of, as the animals were walking from front to back of the building, he would run towards the back and get to like the little porch area and just jump out towards the fence and try to scare them. He thought that was pretty funny, And he did. He scared a couple of deer. But I remember one time we were sitting there, and from the peripheral, I see a wolf. And to me, it was a wolf. On four legs. And I'm like, what? A wolf here? And he gets up again to do the same thing, right? And he was way ahead of us. He ran, gets to the back, and then he jumps. And I guess I didn't see this part because I was behind him. But I guess the wolf stood up, and he was like, he says this thing was like 10 feet because he was taller than the fence. And he launched at the fence. That thing launched at him. And I guess the wolf or the Dogman, which I now know to be, rattled the fence. And the dude passed out. When we got there, he was laying down, and the Dogman had. We caught the tail of him. We caught him as he went into the woods. But this thing was big, I still didn't put it together,
Was he on all fours when you guys saw him?
Yeah, he was on all fours, running into the woods.
Okay.
And this thing was like completely black. It was just a black animal. And to me, because I just saw him on all fours, and he seemed like big. To me, he seemed like a big wolf. So that was it, man. The Martinez, that was his name, Martinez. He had a hard time with that, man. I remember he had to go home because he couldn't be at school anymore. He had a hard time with this, and all I got from him was that the thing stood up and growled at him, and it launched itself at him, and the only thing that stopped him was that fence. That's all he remembers, and that was it. He went back home, back to his unit. So that was it, man. That was my first two encounters, man, and I never thought about it. To me, it was just something that happened and weird, I guess. It's not like Can you hold on for a second?
Yeah. Yep.
30 plus years, until beginning of this year. When I was in the Marine Corps, I had a good friend. His name was Mike. We both served together. We went at the same time. We went to school together, and basically did our whole enlistment together. I decided to get out and go to college. He decided to stay in because he loved it. So he did that, and afterwards he went into the private sector, like private security, Blackwater type of security. So he did that, and he was able to make a lot of money. Those guys make a lot of money. So he bought a ranch of all places, North Carolina, and he's half retired. I think he works maybe a third of the year, and then the rest he's at home. But I've been in touch with him the whole time, So he calls me up, and he wanted me to help him put together a remote telescope, something you can operate from anywhere in the world, And so I took a week off work, and I went there, and we did that. It was a cool project, man. We put this telescope together with cameras and all that cool stuff. We even put a drone. We even like program a drone to do like a certain pattern of like perimeter flyover, and then go back to his little docking station. So this took us about 4 or 5 days. And then the Saturday that week, we were doing some shooting. And one of the things I loved about the Marine Corps is all the shooting we did, man. Like shooting all the 50 cals, the saws, all those cool Mark 19 and all that stuff. So one thing he has is a lot of weapons. You know, he's in security forces, so he has a lot of weapons. Some stuff that I don't think it's legal, but he has all that stuff. So the whole week was cool because, you know, I'll be out there working on the telescope and I have a, you know, AR or a Desert Eagle, and I'll just start shooting at stuff. So it was cool. So that Saturday we were supposed to meet up with one of his buddies who also bought a ranch nearby. And we were supposed to meet up with him because our friend Mike put a IR scope on his sniper rifle. So we were going to do some sighting on it. And we had set up a target, like a watermelon with a scope, to try to duplicate that famous shot that Courthouse Hitchcock did. You know, his famous Marine sniper who shot another sniper to the scope right into the eye. So, you know, we try to duplicate that. So we put a watermelon out there, and a couple hundred yards out there with a scope. And I remember I was out there, you know, just taking some shots when I see a deer. They kind of just, to me, it didn't seem right the way it was walking. It kind of stumbled, you know, to my near the watermelon, near our target. And I'm like, "Oh, check this out, Mike. It's a deer." So he grabs a rifle and goes, "Oh yeah, that's it." And then before I knew it, he shot it. So he shot this deer. So we walk over there. I just, for some reason, I had a weird vibe going on. I just didn't feel right, you know. And then the deer had like this cyst on you know, one of the hind legs, and this thing was the size of almost a damn baseball, man. It was just a big cyst. And my friend Mike gets his knife and he pokes it, and all this pus just like squirts everywhere, you know, all over my leg, my pant leg. Grossed me out, man. It was just nasty. So I'm walking over to his truck to my gym bag was in there, and I had some sweat, so I went over there to change. And this whole time I was there, the whole week, I was always carrying a Desert Eagle because it was, you know, it's cool. He had extra weapons, so I always had a Desert Eagle, and that time I didn't take it with me. So I walk over to the truck, which was probably about 200 yards away from where Mike was. And I remember getting the gym bag out, and I was getting ready to drop trout right there and change. But I'm like, no, what if Mike's friend shows up and he's got a girlfriend with him? I better jump inside the truck. And he had a shell. And I jumped inside the back of the truck, and I was changing. And all of a sudden, man, I get that weird, everything went silent, and like kind of like, it just kind of like this fear kind of like took over, man, and I don't understand why. I'm sitting there, you know, halfway, you know, my shorts halfway on, and all of a sudden I feel the presence of something, like right on the other side of the truck. There's something there, you know, and for some reason I did not want to look up and see, but something was there. So I thought it was Mike's friend. So I'm like, "Hey, man," his nickname was Slimer. So I'm like, "Hey, Slimer, it's me, man, George. I got your sniper rifle right here, man." So I started talking to him, and you know, nobody was talking back. But there was a figure right there. I can just see like the dark outline of it. There was dogs. To me, I thought they were dogs. They were just, you know, jumping around, circling the truck. So that's why I thought he was his friend. I'm like, oh, he probably brought his dogs with him. But nothing. There was no communication going on. So I had to look. So the way that camper, the shell was, it had one of those windows that have those, you know those windows that have, they're broken into like 3 pieces of glass, you know, and they're, you can open them all 3 at once.
You can slide them, yeah.
But, yeah. So that's the kind of window it was, and it wasn't that big. It was probably like, I don't know, maybe like 30 inches long and 20. So I looked, and all I see was black, like fur. Right? It was like fur, and it's dark. It's like dark black. You know, it was plain daylight, and this thing was so black that it just. It was almost like camouflage, you know what I mean? It was just weird, just black. And I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, well, maybe it's a bear. And I'm trying to look. All I can see was just fur. And then I kind of dip down, and I look at the very corner of that window, and that's when I see eyeball. And I started to kind of put things together, and it was. Can you imagine one of those doll houses? You know what I mean? Like maybe like a 3-foot doll house has a window, and you're gonna kind of look inside. You kind of crouch down and look.
Yep.
That's what it was doing. It was kind of crouching down and looking down at me. So its face was kind of away from me, but up in that corner of the window, and it was like a yellow orange eye that was looking at me. And I don't know what this thing was, man. I'm just looking, I'm going, what? I'm trying to process what is this thing? And then it moves. It kind of tilts its head, and that's when I see the snout. I see the snout, and it was like a shark, man. It had teeth, like, it almost seemed like it had 3 rows of teeth, man. It was just lots of teeth, like that. It was just like way too many teeth. I don't know how they fit in this thing's mouth, you know. And it looked down at me, and then it really crouched down, and that's when I saw both eyes. And this thing is like, I don't know if it's grinning or whatever, but the teeth are all out, and like its mouth is kind of all the way back on both sides, and then it's drooling. And then it, man, this is where I have a hard time.
Take your time. It's all right.
It gets his finger, and it's a finger, man. It's not a paw or anything. It's like a finger, and it puts it. Those windows were slightly cracked open, and it gets like a finger. And this, you know, the only thing I can think of is like a honeybacker. You know, honeybackers got those black fingernails.
Yeah.
Like a hand like that. It takes its fingers and it runs from one end of the window to the other, you know, underneath one of the glasses, like that. And it's doing that. And this point, man, my heart is just beating. And you know, mind you, I have a sniper rifle right here next to me. You know, I have just, you know, throw in the magazine, you know, but I wasn't thinking of that, man. I was just frozen. And this thing is running his finger back and forth on that glass, man. And I can see the like little powdery stuff that he was scraping off the glass. And the whole time he's looking at me, and he's grinning. He's grinning. And and all I can do is just sit there, and I couldn't move. So then it seemed like it was forever, man. So finally, I just happened to, I had the keys in my hand for some reason, and I hit the emergency, you know, the alarm button. Yep. And it just, that's all I remember, man. I hit the alarm button, and the thing just, like, I pissed it off, man, because it just, like, it growled at me, like, and, you know, it was like, I can smell its breath. I can feel, like, everything. This thing was about 4 or 5 feet away from me, you know, and I felt everything, man. It was like it went through my body and my chest, and then it resonated inside my organs. You know, like, and I blacked out, man. I passed out. You know, and I woke up, and Mike was there, and he's like yanking the keys off my hand because I had the kung fu grip on the keys, you know, and he ripped them off, and he's on his cell phone with someone. He's like, what I remember him saying was, the bitch is back. The bitch is back. You know, and that was it, man. I was in and out of consciousness for the next couple hours.
Wow.
And he takes me back to his place, and it was a blur, man. I got home. He put me on a plane, and I got home. I don't know if it was a Sunday. I think it was a Sunday. I got home, and the weird thing is, I just, you know, the whole week was a blur, man. It was a blur. I don't even know how I made it through a week of work. You know, thank God I worked from home. I was doing technical support from home. Mm-hmm. I didn't have to physically go anywhere. But I eventually ended up getting laid off because I couldn't perform. I could not do my job, man. I could not concentrate. It's black, and laying on the couch or dozing off, I would wake up and I was like pretty much laying on this beast, you know.
Yeah.
That's what I remember having a hardest time with, man. Is I couldn't find a spot anywhere in my house where I felt safe. And my house has like 30 windows, you know. So windows freak me out, and so I stopped replying to emails. I started, you know, I wasn't doing my job, man, and I got laid off, and which was, you know, was what it was. And I was out of it, man, for about a month, and then I finally I called Mike, and I'm like, dude, what happened? What's going on, man? Because what was that thing? And that's when he told me, you know, what's going on this property. And it turned out to be a Dogman. He said, it's a Dogman, some kind of werewolf. And I'm like, what? I couldn't process it, man, for like another month. I'm like, what do you mean a werewolf? Werewolf? Like a werewolf? He's like, yeah, man, it's a werewolf. And I just couldn't, you know, it's not in my world, you know. I'm a werewolf, you know. And it probably took me probably like 3 months, man, 3 months to start, you know, getting back into reality, you know.
Right. You had straight PTSD, man.
Yeah, I think I do, man. It's. I still have nightmares once in a while, but it's not as bad as it was, man. Like, my wife bought me a French Bulldog last year for my birthday, and, you know, French Bulldogs have those ears, you know, like the Batman ears. Yep. And I also have a Shiba Inu who also has Batman ears, and when the lights are off and you see the ears, man, that would freak me out, man. I'd just pass out, man. I would just be like, I guess they call them night terrors, when you just, I guess, pass out and you paralyze and you can't move.
Sleep paralysis and night terrors.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what happened. That was happening to me, man, just by seeing my dogs in the dark or waking up on this couch. So, you know, my wife, dude, I love her, but, you know, she's a math teacher. You know, to her, everything is logic, right, and data and proof. So she knows that I saw something traumatic, but she does not, you know, believe it's what it was. So that's as far as I can go there, you know, as far as support. Right. But she does support me, and she's with me, but she just doesn't fully accept the fact that what it was, you know.
What about your friend Mike? What about talking to him about this? You know, and I talked to him, and he went on to tell me, you know, the history of his ranch. He said he bought this ranch and from
from an older gentleman that passed, and his son, which his son's not a spring chicken. His son was like 70 also, you know. He said his son came over and like came over to give him the keys to to the sheds and all these other you know, meat lockers and stuff like that. And he told him that, hey man, the world is not what it was anymore. There's no longer. This is the comment that he made. There's no longer just the big man. There's other stuff. My buddy was like, he didn't know what to say to that. He's like, okay. But he said that, long story short, that there was a Bigfoot and a Dogman that I guess were like partners. They were always around the ranch, you know, and doing what they do, you know, going around the windows but these were, he didn't get like a bad vibe from them, you know. He thought they were just pranksters because they would move his tools around and just do little stuff like that. It wasn't anything like anything that was you would, you know, anything dangerous or anything that you feel threatened,
right? You
know, and I guess one week things changed, man. There was like a different howling, like a different. He said he would hear the Bigfoot make screams or whatever the noises they make, and the Dogman would return it with like a little howl, yip or whatever. But one time he said that there was something else, like a bigger, stronger howl that he started hearing. And he said the forest was restless, and there was like back and forth running, like people, it was like a bulldozer out there. And he said that he got like a really strong vibe that it wasn't safe. So he took off, man. He went to his mom's for about a week or two. And he said that when he came back, it was always like a bad presence that was there. And he never saw the Bigfoot or the other Dogman anymore. It was just one big Dogman that I guess one time just stared him down. I guess he showed up and he said he parked his truck and this thing was right there, like next to the shed, just looking at him. And he said this thing was huge, man. He said this thing was like 11 feet tall, man. And he called his buddies, man. He called his buddies that were security with him, and according to him, he didn't want to tell me too much. But I guess one of his friends had experience with this thing, and the guy shows up with like 3 or 4 of those Turkish dollars, man. I don't know what they are. They're big candles and tangles. With this big Turkish sheepdog, man, that's what they say. Show up with like 3 or 4 of them, and he shows up with them, and I guess I don't know if they chased him off or not. They chased off this thing, and he was like Dogman free for about a year. Like this thing wasn't around anymore.
Right.
Till I came over, you know.
Wow.
And that was it.
When you saw it, or did your friend, did you see a tail, or did your friend mention if it had a tail?
Like I said, I was in the back of the van.
Right, so
I only had that little window. Had that little window to look out, so I didn't see the tail. I didn't see the legs. All I saw was like pretty much like his left shoulder
and just the face,
kind of his chest, and then the snout. Because he was kind of dipping down to look down at me. That's how big this fucking thing was, man. He dipped down to look at me, and like my friend drives a Raptor, you know, it's big old lift, you know. So all I saw was the eyes, man. The eyes were, man. I was scrolling through Netflix the other day, and there's a movie. I think it's called Lucifer, and the picture on that, it's got those same yellow eyes, man. They remind me a lot of this thing, man. They're yellow, but you can see you can still see the pupils inside there, right? Like a wolf, man. But it's like yellow orangey.
Right. George.
And that's the whole view I got with the snout. And then when it dipped down more, I saw the ears, And this head, man, the head was like, it was bigger than a big cow, man. Like a head that big.
Right. George, we're coming up on time. I do want to talk to you after I'm done recording. Is there anything that you'd like to say before I have to end the recording?
Oh man!
I know you wanted to reach out. I know you wanted to reach out to other Marines to see if they saw anything.
Yes. Thank you. I just know that Camp Lejeune, Courthouse Bay. I was kind of looking at Google Maps, and I know that not far from Courthouse Bay, there's a game land that's not far. So now that I've been doing research on these animals or whatever they are, I know that they like water, they like game lands, and so I was thinking this is a breeding ground for these things, man. And I'm sure there's other Marines that have been stationed in Camp Lejeune that might have had a sighting or two. I just wanted to know if there's some Marines out there that have sightings in Camp Lejeune, man. Like drop a comment or something, and I'd like to know more about it because I'm pretty sure I wasn't the only one. Me and Martinez weren't the only ones that saw these things.
Right. All right, guys. So if you were at Camp Lejeune and you did have some sort of sighting, either drop a comment or send me an email, and I can send George that email. That way he can get some clarification. George, I want to thank you for coming on. Don't hang up because I want to finish our conversation. It was a pleasure having you on the show tonight. Thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
Wow, what an amazing interview. George is just a super nice guy. No one should have to go through an experience like that with one of these creatures. I truly, one of the biggest reasons why I dove into this is because my own experience really had me questioning everything that I thought I knew. I mean, I was young, 17, but at 17, 18 years old, you think you know the world. I know nothing about the world. And then seeing one of these things, actually seeing multiple of them in the woods, but being able to see one out in the open just really shaped my life and who I am today. I don't know if it's for the better or not, but I know that I have an obsession, and these creatures are it. With that being said, your support is what makes this channel continue to grow and go. Also, your support is what makes this channel so special. You all are the platform, or the foundation, for this platform. Without you, there would be nothing. Thank you. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant. Keeping an eye on your children, your pets, your family and friends. Share a little bit of information that we share with each other on a daily basis here with the folks that you care about. And it honestly may just save their life someday. God bless you all.